Freud, 1909. Analysis of a phobia in a 5-year-old boy. The aim of Freud's study was to test the theory of psychosexual development. The research method was a case study of one child, a boy called Hans, who was aged between 3 and 5 during the time of the study. Hans' psychoanalysis was carried out by his father, who was a supporter of Freud, and was in regular correspondence with him. Before Hans was 3 years old, he started showing an interest in his whittler, getting pleasure from touching it and noticing that animals had them. Hans had also started to show an interest in urination and expelling feces. Once, when his mother found him playing with his penis, she threatened to have a doctor cut off his whittler, which led to Hans developing a castration complex, causing him to repress his pleasurable feelings. Hans felt sexual desire towards his mother and felt resentful about having to share her with his father, which manifested as a death wish towards his father, who he saw as a rival for his mother's love. When Hans' sister was born, when Hans was 3.5 years old, he was further separated from his mother. When questioned by his father about his feelings towards his sister, Hans stated that he wished his mother would drop her in the bath. He then became afraid of having baths in case his mother dropped him. Hans' phobia of horses began when he was 4.5 years old. He was afraid of being bitten by a white horse with black around the mouth, which Freud suggested represented his father, as the black around the mouth was symbolic of his father's moustache. Hans' fear of horses was also linked to his mother telling him that it would be improper for her to touch his penis, so touching a white horse would cause it to bite his hand. Hans was afraid that his mother would leave him because she had refused to touch his penis. When Hans' father told him that women do not have whittlers, Hans assumed that his mother had had her whittler cut off, and that his whittler would be cut off if he touched it. Hans' fear of horses developed further when he saw a horse fall down as it was pulling a bus. Freud thought that the fear was linked to Hans' death wish towards his father, and Hans wanted his father to fall down dead like the horse. Freud also thought that the heavily laden cart was symbolic of feces in the human body, and also of a pregnant woman. The cart falling over represented a woman giving birth, and was linked to Hans' feelings about his sister. Hans had a number of dreams which were linked to his anxieties. He dreamt about a big giraffe, which represented his father, and a crumpled giraffe, which represented his mother's genitals. This represented Hans' longing for his mother, and his father's disapproval of Hans going to their bed in the mornings. Hans also dreamt about a plumber who stuck a borer into his stomach. This represented Hans' father pushing Hans out of his parents' bed with his penis. Hans had another dream about the plumber who took away his whittler and his behind and gave him new ones, which were bigger like his father's. Hans resolved his Oedipus complex by identifying with his father in his make-believe games about his own children. After this, he was no longer afraid of horses and had overcome his phobia.